Kia ora tātou, tuhia ki te rangi, tuhia ki te whenua, tuhia ki te ngākau o ngā tangata katoa. Ko te mea nui, ko te aroha, ti hei mauri ora tumihi tuatahi, ki tō tātou kingi o ngā kingi, ko i kuraiti, ko ia te kaiwhako ora o ngā mea katoa. Tōrua, ki te whare atu nei, me te papa e takato nei, tēnā kōrua. Ki ngā mate, ko whiturangatia ki te pō, haere atu rā, tō whā, ki te kingi Māori atu heitia, tēnā koe. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko tāmai nei, ki te whakarongo, ki te rongo, nō reira, kia ora koutou katoa. How's everyone doing? All right? Hey, so I think it's important before I say anything else that as someone almost 30, it's important to understand that, almost, I only just graduated for the 30 under 30 part, but I think when you ask speakers to come and talk about resilience, the reality is that in this room is filled with heaps of people that have got your own story, your own version of what it takes to persevere, to walk through things, and I definitely don't stand here as an expert. In fact, potentially what I prefer to share about is people that I admire for how they've shown resilience. And maybe ask me when I'm 70, and I'll tell you how awesome I was, alright? I'm gonna sort of talk about, I guess, three sort of ideas that I think are important to understanding or maybe processing resilience in a really effective way. But let me just start off how my journey in Hamilton began. So when I was 21, we moved to Hamilton with about 5 other people. The idea was that we wanted to eventually start a church. So I was from Palmerston North, where the rates of rent are incredibly cheap. We paid barely anything. It was amazing. Even over summer, university students, the landlords would cut the rent in half. It was amazing. So I came to Hamilton sort of determined, like, I don't care, I'm paying exactly what I paid in Palmerston North, which put me in the hood, pretty much. And so I was down this cul-de-sac street, and next door to me I had the biggest drug dealer in Hamilton. Next door to him, I had the mongrel mob. Next door to him, I had Black Power, and in the corner we even had White Power. So we were a big family, you know, we involved everyone. We saw the police every day in our street, and for some reason our house, they had little holes in the floor all around the place, but in summer it just smelled like weed all the time. I could never figure it out. It was like a giant mystery of that house. But we moved into this place, and in the first week I pulled a family out of their home at about 2 in the morning. Dad was drunk and just basically beating the crap out of everyone inside. So I pulled the mum and about 5 kids out of their home. And you know, so what do you do when someone's getting hiding across the road? You ring the police, right? Wrong! You walk over and you knock on the door and go, hey, do you guys want to come to my house? Which is what I did. And so we invited these people over to my house, and then the next day they woke up and I was like, well, should we just have a feed? And they were like, yeah, okay. And so that's how we started our church, which is now called Te Rautini, which means many feathers. And so my journey has been with amazing people. And whilst, when I think about my story, there's been elements of resilience, and I actually love the word resilience. I reckon it's an epic word. Because I think resilience, yeah, while we might never regain exactly the same shape, what I think it is about is retaining our identity, our moral compass, our integrity in the midst of everything that we walk through. And I watched that with a whole lot of the people that we started, the communities that I was part of, and I've watched that with a whole lot of people that have suffered immensely. And so it's why I partly feel really unqualified standing up here, because some of the people that I've walked through, you know, we had one point when we started a youth group in our street, and the first gathering we had 3 young people turn up. They were all drunk off their face, so we did nothing. The next week, 3 more people turned up, and everyone was stoned. And that was better because everyone laughed at my jokes, which made me feel heaps better about myself in general. The following week we had to decide, hey look man, you guys can't turn up wasted, alright? We're too important for this. And one of the girls turned up drunk, and so we took her home, and about an hour later she was crawling down the street, and her dad had beaten her with a steel bar. We spent the night in the hospital, and I've got story after story after story. At one point where every single young person in our youth group had either been severely physically abused or severely sexually abused. And it's the privilege of my life, actually, working with people, just doing life with people that have an incredible story. So when I think about resilience, we actually aren't handed the same opportunity, are we? We aren't even close handed the same opportunity with what we've been presented. And resilience looks like a whole lot of different things for a whole lot of different people, but I'm going to suggest a couple of things. The only way that we can experience hope after setbacks or disappointments is to honestly and authentically address our pain. And that's the most important thing. Resilience to me is not the ability to shake it off and go, that's it, I'm pressing on. I'm carrying on with what I set out to do and pretending like nothing happened. That's actually just inauthenticity. And it's probably a whole lot of naivety as well. Our ability to acknowledge where there's been pain or hardship or even what was talked about, grief, our ability to acknowledge those things and go about and processing those things in the right way, those are the things that actually allow us to have any type of hope going forward. Any type of ability to go, I'm actually going to be okay, and my sights can be set again on what I was hoping for. We are the pretending generation, aren't we? You look at my Facebook, you go, man, Aaron, you're an amazing guy. You look awesome. You post up cool photos, inspiring quotes. I hope I'm not that guy. But we are amazing at putting our best version of ourselves forward and blocking off any type of brokenness from everyone else, right? Because we've got it sussed. We've got it together. But let me say this, the people that I admire the most are not those that have a CV that is just ridiculous, but it's the people that actually have got character and integrity, that have walked through stuff and have gone, I still have hope. And I've walked through this, and I've walked through this, and I've walked through this. And I'm real gutted that my Ngāti Mahanga wife can't be here tonight, because she has actually walked through some ridiculous things. One of the things that actually attracted me to her in the first place, like, man, you've walked through stuff, yet this is how you perceive the world. It's an amazing thing. We actually have in Waikato an amazing story of resilience. King Tawhiao is probably the most prominent and remembered king of Waikato area. Now, in our story, in this place here, he was incredibly betrayed. They lost everything. And in a moment, Waikato went from being one of the most prosperous people in New Zealand to being that which is in poverty. So we now know king country was the land which the king fled to with all the people, right? So King Tawhiao had lost everything. They'd lost land, they'd lost people, there'd been a massive amount of death, and they'd lost their livelihood essentially. And he prophesies this one thing. He says, "Mākua no e hanga I tōku nei whare." He said this, I will rebuild my house. And he said it amidst an incredible amount of suffering, as he was watching his people walk with tears in their eyes. He watched his people lose everything that they had. And yet here he was saying, I will rebuild my house. Now, Tawhiao presents us an incredible story of resilience. Was Tawhiao broken? Was he battered? Was he bruised? He absolutely was. In fact, people are still recovering today from the actions that took place on that day of that prophecy. But our ability to see something different also comes out of our ability to acknowledge the pain and suffering that we have that's within as well. Number 2, your big picture why must be big enough to push you past the distractions. Our house got robbed by the same kids that we were working with. Sometimes I would come home after school and there'd be this kid rolling around on my skateboard. I'd be like, bro, that's my skateboard. He's like, yeah, well, that's your windows, you're easy to open. You know, it wasn't even a thing. I was like, and that's my t-shirt. He's like, yeah, oh, sorry bro. It's like, no you're not, it's my t-shirt. We had this one moment where we'd come back from this amazing weekend and I drove up to my house and this kid ran over the street and was like, Aaron, there's nothing left in your house. What? And I walked in and everything was gone. Literally. So what do you do in the midst of that stuff? Well, My why was bigger in that space than what I was walking through, right? You know, it's stuff. Disappointing when your insurance company sucks and they give you like 10% of all that stuff, but it was just stuff. And I got to the point where, with these young people, where my belief in them was so much bigger. They didn't have the same starting point as me. They didn't have the loving mother and father that pushed belief into them every day of their life. Our starting points were different. But my why was bigger than the stuff that happened to me. It was bigger than the circumstances. And I think, honestly, people get into midlife crises because they make their whys about the wrong thing. We get stuck. When people go, well, I'm living, everything's going to be about my child. What happens when your child moves out? Then what? You know, the best thing that we can do if we want to actually leave a legacy is live a life. Show people that something matters to us. It matters more than our 9 to 5, slug it out, but that we have something which actually pushes boundaries. So some of my whys, someone whispered in my ear when I was 15, they said, Aaron, you will always fight for the underdog, and it's been true in every part of my life. Now what does that look like? It looks like wanting to see culturally every person from every tribe and tongue be exactly who they're meant to be, without the limitations of oppression and racism and prejudice, and hopefully trying to even reclaim something back from things like colonization and the effects of those things that have. My why will keep me up at night for the rest of my life, right? And so my why can look like a whole lot of different things, but if my why is only to build a company, what happens once you've done it? We can wrap our identity up in these functions and these activities, right? Oh, my job is, I want to become a CEO. Well, congratulations, you're there, so now what? Is our why our function? Or do we have a bigger cause? Is there something that we're aiming for that we might never reach, but we'll feel privileged to be part of? Is there something that's bigger than us? This is what's been said before as well. Be okay with your failure. We don't have to be Superman. And about 2 years ago, I reached a point in my life where just everything was going wrong, basically. In every facet, my relationships with people, the roles that I was playing, I felt like I was doing a crap job of every job, pretty much. And I felt very alone. And part of what I do is I do a lot of stuff like this in front of people, all around the place, around New Zealand, do a lot of travelling. And I got to the point where I just wanted to hide from everybody. I wanted to run away and go, I don't want to stand in front of anyone else anymore. And there would be times before sharing, even in a space like this, I'd be sitting by myself and just like shaking, almost going, oh man, I'm so crap, you know, like I've done this wrong and I've done that wrong, and maybe if someone actually knew that I was walking through this, they wouldn't think that I was all that and then some. And I had these amazing people that stood beside me. And I have 3 people that know everything about my life. I've got people that I ring up every week that keep me accountable to my failures and my successes. I tell them everything because I refuse to do life alone. And without that, I could have never risen again. And now, sure, it's not as if let's all stand to our feet and applaud, man, Aaron, your resilience, wow. You know, you felt bad and you got up again. It's like, it really isn't that. It's about going, we do this stuff together. And I think one of the big faults when we think about resilience is that we think about it of, it's me, it's my race and my journey. And in a world where the focus is on your individuality and your independence rather than your interdependence, I think we're more stuck than ever. Because when things get hard, we look to ourselves, don't we? I'm going to pull out of this. I'm going to choose. I'm going to make the decision. And what happens when that decision, when that situation is the grief of losing your sister? And all of a sudden you don't feel like you have a choice anymore, where your feelings and the weight of what you're carrying is choosing you. We can only do this. And this is where culturally, even understanding Te Ao Māori, tikanga Māori is incredibly helpful. Understanding that we are not by ourselves. If you live by yourself, quit your dreams before you begin. Honestly, I mean it. Do it with others. Let people in. The most dangerous thing I think that we have is that the secrets that we carry, the ambitions that are they're only ours because we refuse to trust. We treat people like threats. right? Well, I was going to tell that person, but Jennifer, she tells everybody everything, so I can't tell her. And then there's John and Flip, he posted a crappy Facebook page, so I can't trust her. Whatever it is, we find a reason to keep everybody out and decide that, no, this is me and my walk and my journey, and it's going to be my strength and my resilience, and we want to get to the end and be like, I was awesome. But how much cooler is it to get to the end and go, my people were amazing. Man, that person held me up in that time. Only if we know what it means to belong, do I think that we are able to allow others to do exactly the same thing. If we aim to be self-made men and women, then I think we will reject every ounce of knowledge and wisdom that everyone else carries. We will reject wisdom that's been around for years and years and years. And that's why I stand here as a 29-year-old feeling like I don't really have a lot to say. But what I've watched in others has helped me. Now, I lived in Africa for a year when I was 18. The first night I stood there, I stood about 200 meters away from hills, and the country that I was in, Burundi, was in civil war, so it's, I was like, man, where the heck am I right now? And I spend my time between Burundi and Congo, and Africa's amazing. I loved it there. But I was with a people who were caught as refugees from Congo in Burundi, and basically what had happened is rebels had snuck over the border and had attacked this refugee camp, which was right next to a UN camp. But the UN camp couldn't do anything because they weren't being fired upon. So they basically watched while thousands of people were burned alive and decapitated and mutilated to death. And I worked with a guy, his name was Pastor Reuben, and basically all the adults were killed. There was maybe 5 or 6 that were left, and probably about 150 kids left over. And so this guy, with less money than me, that's for sure, pulled every single one of those children into his home. Now, obviously everyone doesn't fit in a normal home, do they? So we have people living in the grass outside and everything that's going on. It's just manic. It's craziness. And these kids have watched their parents blown to pieces. And I'm with these people, and I'm with Reuben, and he's paying a price, a significant price. His independence is definitely gone. But his love for his people and how his identity was wrapped up in them, that their suffering belonged to him as well. That allowed his cause to be bigger. It was about his people. And it would always be about his people, and today it is still about his people. And I want to challenge us today that I honestly think that 99% of us, our cause and our why isn't where it should be. In fact, it's probably limited. Our cause, we get confused with our career path, right? Our career path should be informed by our why. Because we are in a world now where the rich and famous are some of the most unhappy people around, right? So we know that some of those material things don't satisfy anything. We get the new house and it's not enough. The new car, and that wasn't enough either. We need a new promotion. We need validation from everywhere else. But we need an internal drive that says, I'm going to be about something bigger than just me. What can I give my life away to? What cause keeps me awake? What cause keeps me passionate and talking? When was the last time you got teary talking about something that mattered to you? When was the last time you felt your heart beating out of your chest because you were so passionate about something that mattered? Maybe it was a long time ago and you've got wrapped up in your work world, but you know it still lives there, right? It's still in the background somewhere. Well, let me just suggest this, and this is my final thought. If we are to be a younger generation that does anything, then we have to learn enough from our past and from the history of even the land that we're in to make what we're about bigger than just us, bigger than our career path, bigger than even our individual plans. We have to be wrapped up in others as well. We have to belong. Our why has to be big. We have to be able to endure some things, right? But we also have to be able to learn from some people. We have to invite people in, let people know your crap. If someone doesn't know your crap, then you're all alone. That's the reality. I don't trust people that don't have scars, to be honest. I don't let them into my world anyway. I love people that have gone through stuff and come out the other end. Not people that are like bullcrap victorious, you know, like, yes, everything's awesome, my life is great, this person died, but I'm not okay. You know, that's rubbish. That's when people have been able, I suffered immensely, but I maintained my integrity through that course. I held on to who I was in the midst of that stuff, and so here I am today. Nō reira, tēnā tātou katoa, ki te piranga i hau, ki te marama koutou, ki ngā taonga, mo te maramatanga, mo te whenua nei. Ngā kupu o tāwhia, o mākua noe hanga i tōku nei whare, i roto i ngā mahanga tarura. Nō reira, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora everybody, thanks everyone for your time.